Welcome to this week's episode of Success in Women, a show about women helping women. Today, I thought we could talk about menopause. Yeah. And the lucky part for us is that we've both been through it.
Definitely.
But we know, ladies, that for some of you, you may be just beginning, you may be in the middle, and you may be in menopause for many, many years. I know people that have been in menopause more than 10 years. Unfortunately for me, and I say unfortunately, most women do not like going through menopause, but I was one of these rare breeds that actually enjoyed it very much because I liked the hot flashes.
That's crazy, Linda.
Yeah. Well, I also like humidity because it poofs out my hair and I actually feel like I have a lot more. But the thing is with menopause, and it's kind of an interesting thing how it impacts everybody so differently. Now, for a lot of us, I know for me, it did give me mood swings in the sense that I was extra sensitive. And I was married at the time that I was going through menopause. And my menopause, as I said, only lasted a couple of years, which was disappointing because I love that feeling of the heat going up the back because I love heat.
Wow. I love heat, but I didn't like that type of heat.
And it was interesting. I remember one time, this client of mine, she was going through menopause and she worked in a male-dominated industry. And it was interesting because she had to give a big presentation. This was like major in her company. And right in the middle of the presentation, she ended up having a hot flash.
Oh boy.
And she started to get red all the way. And you know, ladies, if you've got like something like what I'm wearing, both of us are wearing, you could see how the red is coming up. And so, of course, men being as clueless as they are a lot of times, didn't have a clue that she was going through and having a hot flash. And, you know, you might get in that position where you've got to deal with it. For some of you, it might be really embarrassing and you have to find a way to deal with it or move on and ignore it. And it's not that easy to do. And if you've gone through menopause, you know that it's not that easy to ignore. But anyway, one of the guys actually asked her because he was seeing her get so red, he thought that maybe she had something wrong with her and that she might have to leave. And she just said right out there, she goes, no, it's just a hot flash, I'm fine. But, you know, if you can laugh at yourself and make a joke, it's easier to get through.
Right.
But sometimes when you're in the workforce or you're having a really crappy day, because it's your mood swings going through the menopause, and you may have a male boss that's not as understanding because males can't really understand what women go through.
They can't relate, no.
You have to find a way to deal with going through menopause, and maybe sometimes you might want to go for a support group because some women really, really suffer. My mother, who's 90, she never really went through any kind of menopause.
Wow, very lucky.
Yeah, but her sister, who was only a year younger than my mom, suffered so bad that my cousin also has gone through menopause in a really, really bad way, but it affected everything with her, her mood swings. I mean, it was difficult to live with herself.
Wow. Yeah, it does happen. In my family, my mom, my sisters, we all went through menopause very young. My one sister was 37 when she started menopause, and she was, and it could be age related, I don't know. She went into rages and she didn't know what was wrong with her. She would just snap.
Tell the story when she actually did snap.
At the courthouse?
Yeah, I think it was at the courthouse, but even before, when she was stopped by a cop or something.
No, well, what happened was she had to go to the courthouse for some reason. And she had parked her car in the front. And when she came out, this cop was sitting there giving her a ticket. And she went berserk on the guy. And he goes, lady, you better go see a doctor. And she thought to herself, what did I just do? What happened? So she did. She drove herself to her doctor's office and she walked in and said, I want to see Dr. So-and-so, whatever his name was. And the receptionist said, well, you can have an appointment today. You'll have to come back tomorrow. Well, she went berserk again. And the doctor heard her from one of the examining rooms, and he came out and he goes, you, get in here right now. She was 37. She had not a hormone in her body. And so they, at that time, I mean, we're both 67 now, so 30 some years ago, they put her on 2 different types of medication, estrogen and something else. I can't remember, which we know now is not the greatest thing to do. And eventually, when she moved to Toronto, I got her to see my doctor and weaned her off those. But I didn't have the rages. And I also went through menopause at 48. Now, the beautiful thing about menopause is no more cycle. And what woman doesn't like that? But there are some, because it's like the end of an era. There's no possible way of having a child after that. But I mean, I was done, and I was done with that. So I was happy. But what affected me the most were the hot flashes. And I mean hot flashes. And as you know, Linda and I both are curlers. We love to curl for many years. And in the beginning, I would go on the ice like I was going on a hike in Alaska. Hats, mitts, t-shirt, undershirt, sweater, another jacket, a jacket. Going through menopause, I'd be out on the ice like I was at the beach. T-shirt, it was amazing how it affected you. And my husband used to always laugh too, because I'd go to bed with my flannels on and my blankets, and about 2 hours later, the blankets would come off, and then an hour later, I started sleeping with a t-shirt under my pajama, because then that would come off. He said, how do you even get a good night's sleep? I said, I don't. And then an hour later, you'd be freezing again. Come back the flannel pajamas and the blanket. Oh, menopause is a trip.
It's interesting. One of my friends actually said sometimes she had so much night sweats, she'd have to wake up in the middle of the night and change the sheets because the sheets got so wet from her sweating.
I've heard that, yeah.
I mean, I was lucky that I didn't get it to that extreme. And my mood swings were just that I was extra sensitive. If my husband almost looked at me wrong, I'd start to cry. But other than that, I was taking just some herbal pills and stuff.
They say that St. John's wort or rosehip.
Yeah, things like that. Mm-hmm. And that was just a little bit to control that. But really, it wasn't long enough for me. And I know that I'm one of the exceptions because I wanted it to be longer. Of course, I'm not going to have it. Just because, I wanted kids. Everyone else is having all these kids. And my mother looked at my father and got pregnant. And of course, I couldn't have any children. But the thing is, it's one of those things where, I don't know, God kind of blessed me. But really, it shouldn't have been me. It should have been all these women that are really going through extreme menopause where it's affecting them, in their day-to-day life.
Day-to-day life, yeah.
And when you're going through that and you have families and or a career, you've got to kind of rein that back in, because
how to manage it.
You really do have to learn how to manage it because it can take over your life. Yeah. And if you want to have opportunities to do the things that you want, then that's one of the things that, if you don't get that under control, could cause you a problem. And, we recently talked about making decisions and choices. Well, sometimes you have to make a choice and a decision to do something to actually manage it, because it is within you. It's not the rest of the world that you think is the problem.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, the people around you. And it's funny because when I was younger, and my mother, I think, must have had those mood swings because, I never knew how to take her. Of course, at that time, none of us knew what it was. I don't even think our parents knew the full extent of menopause. And they just thought maybe they're aging, or what's wrong with me? I don't know what's wrong with me, and this and this and that. And of course, the children don't know. And I was the oldest, so I got to see her in her roughest times. And then now when I think back, I say, oh my goodness, I feel so bad because I was always mad at her. And what's your problem? And why are you always yelling at us? And the poor woman was going through menopause, but we didn't really know. And of course, now we know so much more about it, but the people around you don't understand. So it's good to be open about it, you know, and just say, you know, listen, girls, this is something I'm going through, or to your husband, and you know, you have to be a little bit more patient with me, and explain it to them that this is nothing that I can really control. It's part of being a woman, and hopefully they'll understand. And when they see you going through something, you just say, listen, I need a moment, or please don't, not right now, I can't deal with this, or, you know, and then a lot of times they see it because you're getting the flashes, you know.
Yeah.
I remember once I was at the hairdresser and Frank was cutting my hair, and all of a sudden I could feel it coming from my toes all the way up. And I said, oh gosh, it's gonna come. And it went right up to my scalp. And Frank goes, what the heck just happened? I said, don't worry, Frank, I got a hot flash. Oh, is that what I got to look forward to with my wife? I go, oh yeah. So yeah, it's just a very, very strange thing that us women have to go through. Another thing that we have to go through.
Yeah, there's many. And it's interesting because when Andrea was telling the story about her sister, she had no clue at 37 that she was going through menopause, because most women would have gone through it in their later 40s, early 50s, at least in and around that age.
I have a friend that's in her late 50s and she still has her cycle. She hasn't even started menopause. So that's the thing about it. You don't know.
And at 37, why would you even think about that?
I would have never thought in a million years, and neither did she. And I think that's very unusual. And but yeah, it happens. And I was young. My other sister is young. So it must be something in our genes in my mother's side.
Yeah, and again, in our family, it was so mixed. But I have a younger sister, and she hasn't started menopause that I know of at this point, and she's in her early 50s. But my mom and my older sister really had so little impact that it was almost like they didn't even notice if they really went through it. And I actually knew that I was in it, but then it was so quickly over that it was like a flash, because all these women are telling me all about all this stuff. And then
you're lucky. Mm-hmm.
Well, lucky and not, because like I said, I love the heat a lot, and really I love that. And when I get people visiting me, they always want to put the air up, and I'm always trying to put it down. And you know, you've come in many times and you'd say, gee, it's warm in here.
I know.
And it's because I love the heat. And menopause for me suited me, because I love that feeling of having that blanket kind of feeling.
I related more to the commercial. I don't know if any of you ladies seen it, where the sliding door opens and the woman comes out in her shorts and rubber boots and takes the cover off the air conditioner and turns it on. I go, that's me.
Yeah, I love that commercial. And actually, one of our friends up in, where we came from, actually, that's how she is, kind of thing, because she still goes through all of that. She's been going through menopause for a long time, and it's like tough, because she's got little fans, in front of her face all the time. And actually, I never realized when I went out in public, some places where there's more women, and they've done that, right? But I wasn't even thinking about it, because again, I always enjoyed the heat. So I never thought about why women were doing that, because I thought it's not really hot in here that they need these fans, but they were hot because they were going through menopause. And I guess the whole thing is, it is something that we have to go through, but how you deal with it and with your family. And if you could even sit with your family and or your boss / co-workers to let them know, sometimes if your mood is changing, it's only because you're going through, the hormones are kicking in, and things are happening in your body that's kind of out of your control, to not take it personally.
And that's the thing with women, we don't like to speak about those things because it's a woman's issue. Same with PMSing when you're a teenager, or when you're pregnant. You don't want to voice those issues with your boss or your coworkers, because you don't want them to think that, oh, you know, a woman always have issues, you know. And whereas if you had cancer or you had another medical issue that are both men and women issues, you'd have no trouble going to your boss and saying, listen, I'm going to be needing time off for treatment or this or that. But us women, we shy away from our issues because it's not a male issue. And we think that they won't understand or they won't be compassionate or they'll look down on us.
Yeah.
That's a big issue. And, you know, unfortunately it is true. Some men will say, well, you know, if you can't do the job or you're not up to it. But, you know, there's some that probably maybe their wife has been through it or somebody they know and they will be understanding. It's hard to talk about those subjects.
It is, and you've kind of raised a good point, because if you have a male boss that doesn't understand, and maybe it could be somebody that does have a younger wife that hasn't gone through menopause and doesn't know how to deal with it. The fact is, you know, we still live really in a male-dominated world. And when they say that women are underrepresented in a lot of places, it's because men don't think that we're capable. Because sometimes, yes, we are the ones that have the babies, and yes, we are going through, you know, the menopause, and yeah, we do have the mood swings. But the fact is, we are also multitaskers. We're women that can do a lot of different things, and we're not always given the credit and showing the respect of all that we go through.
That's right.
Because men couldn't handle a lot of what women actually have to deal with, all the way through going, you know, when we're going through first getting periods and everything, a period, and going through menopause and in between having the babies and for the most part being the caregivers or parenting of those children. Men don't really understand that.
Domestic goddesses, that's what we are.
And we're good in the workforce.
Yes, very
Given
good.
opportunities, we are good, and we need more male bosses to recognize,
to support
us.
Exactly.
But one of the things that you mentioned, Andrea, and I know this for a fact, my ex-husband actually went through male menopause.
Really?
And I know a lot of guys don't want to even admit to that, but my ex-husband was going through it and longer than I was, because he actually was starting to get the night sweats and everything.
Wow.
And then in talking to some other people, I found out that some other men were going through it. They may not have the extreme conditions that we have. They may not have the mood swings, but a lot of men actually do go through male menopause, but they won't ever talk about it or admit it to anybody because they don't understand it. And they think that menopause is a woman's thing.
A woman's issue.
And it's really quite interesting.
Well, it's like breast cancer. We know men get breast cancer, but how often do we hear of it?
Yeah.
We'll always hear about women or like my sister who just finished her radiation treatment for breast cancer. You know, the minute she found out, you know, we all knew about her, we all supported her. But, you know, there are men that get breast cancer, but you don't hear about it. And maybe they feel like, why did I get that? That's a woman's issue. But it does happen.
Well, and that's the thing with a lot of things. You know, we're talking about menopause and how it impacts us, but there are conditions that you can say are women's, but they do impact other people.
I think men like to call it midlife crisis.
I think that's probably
what
true.
It is.
Yeah.
Midlife crisis, but sorry, buddy, it's menopause.
That's what it really is. Call it for what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, but ladies, just know that you're not alone. There are other women going through this, have been through this, and even talking to if your parents or your grandparents are alive and how that impacted them. Because like Andrea said, a lot of our past generations didn't really fully understand what menopause was all about.
It wasn't talked about. It's
right.
Hush, hush, hush.
Never. And so if you were going through these mood swings and stuff, nobody even knew. They might have just thought you were being a bitch.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Really, that could come out of you, but not because you wanted to. It's because
No.
of what your body's doing in the changes it's making.
Exactly.
But one of the things that I absolutely loved about going through menopause was that I could book travel now and not worry about a cycle, because it
Oh, yes.
never failed. If my husband and I were going on a trip,
Boom.
boom, it always happened. And then I started in the end controlling and manipulating with the pill, which I know I wasn't supposed to do that. But I mean, who wants to be on
Linda.
vacation through a cycle? So anyway, menopause is a great thing, ladies. You just have to learn to live with it and
her.
deal with it. Well, I know, but there's other women that will help you through it if you need it.
Yeah, the best part is, for me, not having the cycle.
Yeah.
Because I was done with having babies, and I was done with that too. Yeah, it's an end of an era for
And the
some
beginning
women,
of a new.
and the beginning of a new. Now you freedom.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's our topic and our tips for today. This is Linda Lebec,
Andrea,
and we're here, Women Helping Women, on Success in Women. Please remember to
subscribe
share.
and like.
Hope to see you next week.
Have a good week, ladies.